Hello, and welcome to a Ripple Leadership Live. We are in week 2 of 6, and it looks like we have both Howard from Orange County and Michelle from Portland joining us today. Welcome. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend and your week is off to a great start. Today, we're going to talk about the R in Ripple leadership. And when I think about Ripple leadership, I think R is probably one of the most important. It is all about reflect. And what you have to do in any practice is you have to reflect on what's working for you, what's not working for you, and what you're going to change or adjust. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is reflect. So we'll spend the next few minutes thinking about your reflection practice and what you do as a leader to reflect on your leadership journey. So my name is Denise Waymeyer. You can see it down in the chat. If you have joined me for the first time, I welcome you. And for those of you are listening to the replay, thank you for listening to the replay, which will be available on LinkedIn as well. So the question I want to ask to start us off is, what do you do in order to reflect on your leadership behaviors? Is there a practice that you have in place to let you know what's working for you and what's not working for you? Tell me if you have a practice or think about it. And if you're watching the replay, just think about that for a moment. What do you do and what have you done in order to be reflective on your leadership practice? Well, some of the things that I want to talk about are the things that we'll think about. What do I reflect on? And if I'm thinking about what I want to reflect on, obviously it depends on where you are in your journey and how long you've been a leader. But I would say that your leadership is something that has continued as you evolve. Leadership, again, is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And as a leader, we are always, from even our early education days, we're doing things that set us up as a leader. How do we influence others? How do we learn from our peers? How do we learn from our colleagues? How do we learn from our teachers, our parents, and who has influenced us? And so, as we think about reflecting, we want to reflect on all of those experiences. So, who are the mentors, leaders, teachers, preachers who have influenced us? And what are the stories and experiences that we've had that have created that? So as we look at some of the comments, Michelle asked for feedback and asked herself after meeting, on that feedback, what action or how do I show up? And was there anything different that I should do? So that's definitely, you asked for feedback. And then once you've performed the action in the meeting, or even at the end of the day or whenever, you're asking yourself, you're stopping and reflecting, how did I show up? Did I show up so I was effective and productive? Or did I show up and get in my own way of doing things the best that could be done? And so a lot of times being able to get that feedback from others, because you may think that you've done a good job during a meeting, but others may not. And so what is working? And Michelle also says she has rituals. So bedtime or wake up rituals that include one thing that she did today that supported someone else. Yeah, so very focused on the things that she's wanting to think about. And what I love about Howard's comment is his transparency. I do not have a practice. We don't always have practices, but just taking the time or putting it on the calendar to think about the impact that we've made and look at the gaps and ask for the feedback. So, very consistent in the comments of asking for feedback. Because, and we'll talk about that not only a little bit more today, but also as we continue into the session next week when we're talking more specifically about getting feedback. But if we sit down and we think about where all we get all of that information, it could be from the results that we deliver. So when we think about the results that we're delivering, are the results that we're looking for? Or the results not getting us the outcomes that we're looking for? That's a point of something that you can go back and reflect on and you can look at. You also, last week we talked about, who we want to be as a leader. We talked about our values. We talked about our characteristics and what we see as success as a leader. So when you're thinking about those particular things, you can reflect on those. Am I living? Am I acting? Am I behaving in a leadership capacity that's consistent with those values, with what I see as leadership success? In the leadership journey that I have designed for myself. Reflecting on that is a great way to be able to look at what's working and what's not working. So you can also start a journaling practice. And so I think both of the folks on the call today have talked a little bit about the rituals and reflecting and thinking about it. But one of the things that I would say is as you do that, what can you do? Do you just sit and think? Is it helpful to potentially write it down? Because if you have a journaling practice, what that journaling practice can really do is it can help you with that deep reflection. And so when we're really thinking about the deep reflection of journaling, that can be where we really go into a lot of more detail. It allows us for that deep reflection and it allows us to create clarity and awareness. It's going to help us organize and help us focus on those goals and what we're wanting to, how we're wanting to show up. It also, journaling will allow us to be more creative in our problem solving and be able to think about what am I doing that's working and not working. And I've said that a lot of times, but as you put those things in a journal, they will actually give you the opportunity to then go back and do additional reflection. Really look at what have I written down over the past several months. These are the things that are working for me. I've been very engaged with my team. I've been collaborating. I've been delegating. All of those things are working out for me very well. But you may also have written down, I haven't kept my one on ones. I haven't been meeting with the team individually on their goals on a regular basis. And so you'll see those things and you'll probably see in there, okay, now what am I going to do about it? So you may put into a practice that says, I said I needed to hold true to my one on ones. That's part of my journal. And then you go and you look at the next week or the next month and you read those reflections, the things that you wrote down at that time, and you go, oh wow, I said 6 months ago that I really needed to hold true to keeping my one-on-ones. And look at me. I still have written that down again. I'm not holding true to it. So by being able to journal what's working and what's not working, you'll be able to celebrate the wins and successes. So hopefully what's happening is you've looked back and you said, you know what? In October, I wrote down that I needed to do a better job of keeping my one-on-ones. And I have consistently done that for the last 6 months. I have continued to hold my one-on-ones, and you can celebrate that success. And then the other thing you can do is you can reflect on, by keeping my one-on-ones, what is that helping me do? How is my team showing up? What is the relationship between myself and my team? Has that made a difference? Yes, I can see that every time I meet with Sally, she is more engaged. She asks better questions. She's developed in some areas that I've asked her to. And when I go and I meet with Tommy, what information do I get from Tommy? How are the one-on-ones helping? How is that showing up? So a lot of this journaling can really help you, give you the opportunity to evaluate and analyze where you are moving forward, those wins and successes, and maybe where you need to improve because you've stumbled or you've had some setbacks. And so I encourage you to start, if you haven't already, that journaling type of practice. And what that does is it really helps us to get better at improving. And so Howard says, help. I'm not a journaling type of person. I love that because you know what? It's one of those habits that is hard to think about. And so, a couple of things that you can do is you can start a journaling practice that is just maybe 5 minutes once a week, even just every once in a while. I encourage you to get, if I can pull it up here, to get like a little notebook, something that is a dedicated place that you can write. Because what that does is you pick it up, and that's always a good journaling practice. You put that journal maybe on top of your desk. So it's the first thing you see when you sit down at your desk for the day. Another good prompt could be on your bedside, because it could be something that you want to use at night because you're going to do it at night before you go to bed. Another prompt, one of the things that's interesting is there's this theory called habit stacking, and it's starting to stack habits on top of other habits. Say that you have finally figured out how you're going to make sure you take your vitamins every night. I take my vitamins every night. I finally developed that as a habit. It's a habit because the vitamin box sits on my by my toothbrush. And so I've developed the habit of brushing my teeth at night. Now I've developed the habit of taking my vitamins at night. 2 habits that I do every night. Maybe your journal or maybe a certain pen lays on your vanity right next to your toothbrush and your vitamins. And so you look at it and you go, okay, I've brushed my teeth, I've taken my vitamins. Now I'm going to stack that habit of journaling on top of it. And so it is something that is a habit that has to be built or has to go. I have done the same thing. There have been times in my career that I've done a good job of journaling, and there have been times when I haven't. And I'll tell you the one thing that's helped me the most, and it is I actually got me one of the electric notebooks. And so this is one of it's a Remarkable. And so I have a section in my Remarkable that is for journaling. The main thing, and when I got this, my husband got it for me for Christmas in 2020. And when I got this, I went back and forth between wanting a journal or do I get some type of tablet or a Remarkable or some type of tablet. And so what I'll tell you is that the reason I went with the Remarkable is it's only paper and pen. Maybe electronic paper and pen, but it's only paper and pen. So I actually can leave my phone and leave my laptop and leave everything in my office. And I take my Remarkable and I go to another room and I sit in the quiet by myself with just me and my Remarkable. My phone's not there to distract me. The internet's not there to distract me. My email's not there to distract me. So I've put a practice in place that really gets me the ability to write. And so sometimes I'll write for just 5 or 7 minutes. And then sometimes I may sit and write for even just 10 or 15. Here's the other thing that I want to talk about. It is the connection between physically writing and memory or your neurological processing. And so a lot of people will say, you know what, I write I type it on my laptop or on my computer or in OneNote or wherever it is. And a lot of people have that practice. You know what? If that practice works for you, keep it up. Nothing wrong with it. We don't want to undo anything that's working. However, I do want to add on there that by physically writing with pen and paper or remarkable, it's that movement of the writing that connects it cognitively to memory and recall. And so there is some scientific research behind the connection of actually writing and doing that. So, one of those things that's a benefit. And I do know that even in programs, when I am, at a conference or I'm watching something that I want to learn, I write a lot. I take a lot of notes. In taking those notes, maybe I go back and look at them. Maybe I do a little, maybe I do a lot. But by writing it, it helps with the recall and the memory. So I'm going to really plug for that actual writing component of it. So the other thing that I want to then go back to is, okay, I've written all of this. How do I go back and review it? And again, that's going to be something that you'll want to build in and add to an ongoing, thoughtful, and intentional practice of your leadership journey. So, we have to practice our behaviors. We have to practice. We can't just lead all the time. We can't just play all the time. And so, unlike professional athletes and professional musicians, they do a lot of practice and a little bit of play. Leaders, we play all the time. We're always on. So we have to be very intentional about our practice time. And so once a month or once a week, however you can do it, make sure you then go back and read and review. So you're doing additional reflection on what's working or not working throughout the day or the week. And then you can see where you can continue to celebrate your wins and where you can adjust because you've had a misstep. And all of that is going to build into the habits and behaviors that you're always working on to design the leadership journey that you want to have and be the leader that you want to be with the impact you desire and the results, and have the teams that are following you that they follow you because they want to follow you because of your excellent leadership, the environment that you create, and the results that you deliver. So that's where we are with results. Or excuse me, that's an R2, results. Results are important with reflect. So reflect is the R in leadership. So when you think about that leadership, ripple leadership, and that R, spend some time, dedicate it. Even if you need, the one thing I didn't say, even if you need to put it on your calendar, put it on your calendar as a to do and check it off as you complete that activity of learning to practice. And it will become a habit. Habits are things that we do out of routine, almost non-consciously. And so it will become a habit if you set yourself up to be thoughtful and intentional. Any additional questions or thoughts that anyone has that is on the live event, or if you have questions when you're watching the replay, drop it in and I will come back and look for comments as well. But I encourage you to practice, reflect, make sure that you have that practice in order to get better at what you're doing. So, Yeah. So Michelle's talking about the remarkable, and that specifically it ties to Evernote. And she uses that all the time. The one thing with the remarkable is it does a couple of things. You can send it as a PDF into your any document, so you can send it into any of the files that you use. And when you look at that, you can do two things. So one, you can send it as a PDF just the way you wrote it, so it shows up as your handwritten note. So that would be an Evernote that you could go back and you could look at. That's a great idea. The other thing it does is you can convert it to text and send it as well, but you have to write really, really neat in order to convert it to text that's legible. And mine usually isn't like that, so it's easier for me just to have it as a PDF. But yes, that's a great resource and way to use it, Michelle. Any other thoughts and comments? Wonderful. Well, I'm going to wrap up for today, and we will continue next week at 12 Central Time on Monday, and we will dig into the next step of Ripple leadership with insights. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to engaging with you next week. And for those who watch the replay, I look forward to seeing your comments and connecting with you on LinkedIn. Thank you. Have a fantastic week.